Hello, everyone, and welcome to Frame by Frame, the Game House's only LEC podcast, where every single week we'll be taking you in a deep VOD review into one game every single week from the LEC. I'm here with my good friend Tim. How are you, Tim?
Ben, it was a great week to start the podcast because, we had 6 out of the 10 games were upsets, close games all around, so we got very lucky that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're not going to talk about upset today. We're going to talk about
No.
Patrick. And if you haven't been able to tell, we will be talking about XL versus Astralis, which was Week 4, Day 1 of the LEC Summer 2022 split. And let's get into it. Now, I have the picks and bans before they started switching. We see the blue side first pick Ornn, and that's where I first start to think. I don't really think of Ornn as a huge blind pickable top laner. Do you agree?
No, it feels like right now with the meta, there's so many counters out there, but it really feels like we're talking about the narrative really this week was the bottom teams against the top teams. It really feels kind of like that bottom team kind of mindset. We're playing for scaling. Ornn's a great one for that. But it's still such a risky blind pick.
Absolutely. And Astralis, up until this point, had not won against any teams above them in the standings, and had won against every team below them in the standings. But going into this game, I think they had a very clear game plan, because immediately on the second pick blue side, they picked the Wukong. And the only thing I can think of is Ornn and Wukong. No matter what Patrick picks, if you think that Patrick is going to live and die by this team, or rather Excel is going to live and die by Patrick, you just need to kill Patrick. And they're hoping that they're going to pigeonhole XL into drafting a single damage carry comp. And I think if we're looking at it right now, I think that's what happened. I like Kalista, and I think Patrick is a great Kalista player, but picking the Ashe afterward, huge counter in lane for Kalista, and picking the Orion and the Tahm Kench, you're really ensuring that XL is not going to be able to do to you what they want to, and all you need to do is keep Patrick down or summon the Ornn ult, get Wukong dashing over there, kill Patrick. I think it is a very, very clear game plan.
Yeah, for sure.
I like XL's counters. I think Gnar is a great counter into Ornn, as we'll see. And I really like Kalista right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kalista's great. But Ashe is in such a strong spot, especially if you build her crit like Habe will do this game and not on hit.
Yes.
It's really, really hard to handle.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into it and talk. I want to talk a little bit more about these two teams, because when I think of Astralis, they're not really the best at anything. They've been kind of a middling team up until this point. But the one thing that they've absolutely excelled at, so to speak, was gathering farm from lanes. They had the absolute highest lane percentage of farm out of any team in the LEC. And what that means is they're not letting creeps go by. They have really good wave management, and they're really good at rotating around and taking care of all the gold on the map, which makes them very hard to close out against. XL, on the other hand, was 8th in lane percentage, which I think we will see a lot of when it turns out that Patrick really just can't get ahead as much as he wants to. And we will begin right away.
Yes.
So let's speed this up just a little bit. So where would you like to go first? I believe nothing happened for the first 8 minutes or so.
So even just looking as we get into game, one of the things I want to point out is really a questionable choice by Patrick, going the heal rather than the cleanse.
Absolutely.
If you look at this game in a vacuum, there's not much for him to cleanse, but the one thing he cannot do is get caught by Ashe Arrow.
Yes.
And we'll see in this game later on that once or twice, it really becomes a problem for him. And I think that's something to look at throughout the game. Early pathing, just kind of pointing out both junglers start top side. Ornn is leashing for Wukong. Trundle does leashless. It allows Gnar to get the early advantage, and just seeing it 2 minutes and 50 seconds into the game, um, we kind of get to see where Vizicachi is going to have a hard time in this lane. He gets his flash blown early
Absolutely.
by the Gnar, gets pushed in, and it's really not a fun time.
No, this is exactly what I was talking about. Gnar
Mhm.
really has the early push on Ornn, and you get Ornn for the late game if you want this team fight comp with the Ornn items. Really, really good, but Finn just has a field day with this lane, especially if you just consider if Vizichachi is not exactly one of the top performing players in this league right now. And we see right after that, the bot lane gets into a really interesting position around 4 minutes where Astralis get a double stacked wave going into the tower. They get Mickey X's Unbreakable out really, really early, ward the river, and then let's watch as this happens at about 4.5 minutes. Mickey
Yes.
jumps in, tries to get the catch on Jonghoon, but ignites Blown, and Ashe just kites Kalista and Braum all the way back to the tower.
Mm-hmm.
And this is exactly how this lane plays out, and we know this when we play these bot lanes in Clash.
Yes, for sure.
This is very, very rough. And Ashe just has full control over this lane, especially if you look on the map right now. Wukong's in the bottom bot side jungle, Trundle's in bot side jungle on the red side. They're looking at this Cloud Drake early, and blue side has priority. Ashe and Tom will always have that lane priority over Kalista.
And it's really stunting a lot of what really XL picked early. When you go that Callista, you're looking to smash lane, you're looking to stack dragons, and you're looking to push your advantages. And that's where we see a lot of teams, I feel like, whether it's the LEC, LCS, LPL, LCK, struggle with Callista, is you really have to push that advantage. And we'll see later in the game that it really takes a while for XL to really start pushing that advantage around the map. And losing two summoners just off the bat, one thing just we don't get to see on screen, but Callista's Splash is blown in lane, just a 2v2 in lane.
Yep.
And even after that, Mickey's going for a fight. I think we'll see later on this game, especially, Mickey had some really questionable plays. I think Mickey had a kind of rough game, and I think if he plays better, that XL might be able to push that lead to a point where Astralis can't come back.
Yeah, and as we're seeing on screen, there were two failed jungle ganks from 6 to 7 minutes on both sides, just trying to capitalize on this bottom lane. And I think both teams know right off the bat how they want to play this game. Nothing really happens early. It's kind of a meta we're seeing throughout the entire world's leagues, that nothing happens early. You're waiting until Dragons. You're fighting over Rift Herald and Baron and waiting until you get these power spikes, because as of the durability update, it's a lot harder to actually get any kills done. As you can see 100%. On the screen right now, XL's starting up this early Rift Herald. Now, when XL very, very clearly on vision is going for this Rift Herald, Astralis, I think, responds very well. Astralis immediately gets on that Cloud Drake, gets that first Cloud Drake, and Kabe and Jonghoon are immediately pushing in to take a plate bot lane. They know that Wukong's right there to help them. They have another huge wave stacked up, and a 300 gold lead for Ashe, about 11 CS. And even after, despite all that, XL is still in the lead without even having used their Rift Herald yet, because Finn took 2 plates top lane already, and is 600 gold up on Vizicachi at this point, which is huge early game. Almost 1,000 gold. And as we'll see in just a little bit, they're just rotating up to use that Rift Herald top lane.
And one itemization point I will point out, and I've seen it a couple times. We've seen it a little bit in the LCS. We see it here again in LEC. Going the Swifty boots on Gnar really gives you lane prio. It allows you to kite around the Ornn, really just keep trading with him aggressively. And even if when Wukong comes up there trying to gank, it gives you survivability, getting out, the slow resist. It really is a win lane, win game kind of thing.
Yep, and here we have Marcoon coming up, summoning the Rift Herald to get this turret. Now, we know how this ends up. The Ornn ult blown, get Finn off. Rift Herald barely doesn't kill that turret. 1 hit point left. Now, doesn't amount to that much. They do get it, but that could have been such a much needed gold infusion early on
Mhm.
into this game to really get Excel moving faster than they ended up going.
And
And
I'll talk about it here when it comes up.
mhm,
We're coming up to it, I know. Um, we're at 12 minutes, 15 seconds. Orn starts taking a fight with Nar to try to prevent him from getting to the tower.
yes,
And what we see is a really big misplay by Finn. Does not walk up, does not get local
yep,
gold with the tower, and does not get a plate with it. That's
yeah,
320 gold
yep.
just lost.
We're seeing
It's
it right
gone.
now. We see the Nar
Yep.
W, Nar Q, jumps
Mhm.
in, ults him against the wall. Orin gets a really good knockup, and Finn just takes a tower shot and the wave's pushing against them. He's not
Yeah.
able to get the turret as fast as he wants to. So what he's going to
Mhm.
do, he's going to push this wave into Ornn. He's hoping that the wave would just take the turret, but he doesn't get the local gold on that last turret, which is a huge missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Even though he's at second most gold in the game right now, just under Nuke Duck, could have been a lot more. And getting his mythic right before that second dragon fight would have been huge. And
Oh, yeah.
as we see here, Jonghoon just getting dove under the turret to get first blood, 13 and a half minutes in the game. A little unfortunate, but what
And
else can you do?
it's it's frustrating, but I like to point out it's one of the things that really work well with this XL comp. Nuke Duck will always have pressure with Lissandra in lane.
Yes.
He's able to, especially after first back, able to push the wave, able to hit those rooms, and you can see he set up the wave, he's pushing it. They're calling for this play 15 to 20 seconds before. And it's really close to being a 2 for 2 with the Ash Arrow, with the Oriana rotating behind.
Yep.
Um, just a little unlucky, but
Yep. The
you're
topper
still
gets out.
seeing it's a case of Excel's still on this timer. It's great. We've gotten this drag, we've gotten this Rift Herald, we've gotten this tower. We're only up 1.5k, and we still have 3 drags to go before Dragon Soul.
Yep.
So at the go for it.
Astralis is so happy to be in this game state right now, just to lose Tom Kench. XL gets one Hextech Drake from it, and they just immediately rotate with Kabe up, take the Rift Herald, take that top turret, and they're going to try to escort it to get a second charge. I don't believe it happens. Nuke Duck stops it just in time. But what does XL do? They rotate, hover around Patrick in the mid lane to get him some more farm, but they're not itching to do anything either, and I really think if XL was a little bit more proactive in this early game, they may have been able to close this game out, but
Mhm.
I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
Yes.
So right here at 16 and a half minutes, 2.5 minutes till the second ocean drink. Both teams would like this. I would be totally fine if I was in Astralis' shoes to give it up, just because they have the Ashe, Oriana, Wukong, Ornn, especially in Ornn with Spellbook. He takes a lot of time to get going. And something I didn't mention at the top, Dayor on Oriana took Gathering Storm. The longer this game goes, the harder and harder and harder it is for you to survive one of those shockwaves. And we have here Marcoon pushing up the top wave, getting that push in on a double stack wave just in preparation to get Vizichachi over there without teleport, because he has Healing Ghost right now with Ultimate Spellbook. So they can just go down there and take the dragon for free. And Nuke Duck's clearing out Vision in the Tribush for that exact same purpose.
Say with that, I think Marcoon maybe jumped the gun slightly on it because when he did push it, it was a minute and a half left towards Drake. So
Yeah.
it is time for Vizichachi to push that and still be able to rotate down. And we'll see as we start coming on. Mine, it's 18 minutes. I don't know where we're at exactly, but XL is able to get the initial ward coverage down. But Astralis is still able to push them out and really force their way into this second dragon.
Absolutely. And we see they're doing just a little bit of a dance in the river right now. Astralis gave up their dragon positioning. Nikki X and Marcoon able to get behind them. Ornell popped, but Mickey gets saved by Patrick. Now we can watch and see what happens here. Astralis has full health bars. Mickey's low. Marcoon doesn't feel confident. Astralis get this dragon for, honestly, I think was a missed opportunity for Excel. There was no reason they needed to be in that position. They split themselves up. Marcoon and Mickey went behind, while Finn and Patrick were still in mid lane. With an Ornn, you really can't afford to do that. And here in the bot lane, Finn blows his flash at 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Which ends up being very important in about 2 minutes.
Yes.
Very major fight coming up.
And going back to that drag too, I really think XL could have pushed the envelope more, because if you look, 4 ultimates were used, or it might have been 3. I'm sorry, not the Tom Kench and the Wukong, but 3 of the ultimates were used to start off that fight. You still have a lot of yours up. You can definitely push and try to at least posture around it and not give it up, because they leave and don't get anything from it. So again, as we talked about before, that lead is not extending the way we really want it to.
Yes, they're still only 2,000 gold up and behind a dragon. Only 1 kill in this entire game. I think if they stay mid lane, push that mid turret, I don't know if they get it, but maybe they can get Astralis to really think twice about what they're doing. I just need them all to commit, really.
Mm-hmm.
And we can see here, Finn, with that Triforce and the Boots of Swiftness, really can just run down the Ornn, and he has to blow his flash to get out of that one in the bot lane.
Patrick, 100%.
Patrick farming mid, as he does, gets caught by the Ashe arrow, the Tom Kench knockup. No cleanse. Absolutely nothing he can do.
Nope. And that's what we talked about. Really, when you see an Ashe and you're not running cleanse, it really just sets you up for failure.
Absolutely.
It really does.
And the Ornn ult on the backswing will slow you. And here we see Astralis tried to go in and get that turret, but I think a really bad fight by them. Vizitachi going in, trying to get that knockup, but completely missed. It ended up being a 2 for 2, but I think XL is fine with that. Astralis could have gotten that turret if they just played it a little slow. We'll see Patrick and Marcoon act like they're going to start this Baron, realize pretty quickly that they just can't. Daor is there to stop them. Oh, and we can see the replay right here. So Patrick farming mid lane, immediate Ashe ult, Tom Kench knockup, Wukong dash. They get the teleport from Nuke Duck out as well. It's a huge mistake from Patrick in being there without vision. They had no idea where Ashe was or Tom Kench. Everyone was waiting there. But then Astralis just goes way too far, way too hard on this. I think they were maybe feeling themselves a little bit too much. They're like, okay, we got Patrick. Our plan is working. Baron's up. I don't know. But we have Ocean Drake spawning right now. XL's down on the bot side, and Astralis grouped up. Meganar has been blown right here. But they start the drag, and this ends up no fight. I believe they use the Braum ult, and they just flip it. Marcoon steals the dragon, and they just go their separate ways. What do you think? What do you think could have been done differently here?
It's so hard to say, because I think Xerxes at the same time just misplays it. He's smiting early, he's smiting at 12:35, and you slow it down. I think there is a world where they can look to posture a little more aggressively. You still have Wukong ult, you still have Orianna ult, as well as Ornn ult. You can play around it more, or you can make the decision, hey, we're giving up Dragon. Let's go get mid tower here. Let's make our own play. Because right now, we're up 2 dragons. We still scale. There's no reason to take a fight here if we don't want it.
Yeah, and I think that just kind of, even though they got the dragon taken away from them, this game's just going longer and longer. 2 drakes to 2 drakes. Not a bad situation for Astralis, but I think XL is really starting to feel the timer being put on them. Patrick's not ahead. He's down in gold to the Ashe. He has 2 items at 27 minutes. Tom Kench isn't going to get any stronger. Orianna is going to get a lot stronger. Ashe is going to get a lot stronger. And
a lot stronger.
The Ornn items are just now starting to come in. Right now, you see Ornn has his upgraded Ornn item, while Finn and Vizitachi are in the bot lane. Now, we know what's about to happen in a minute here in this replay.
Yes.
But just looking at this game state, we have wards all around the Baron pit. Daor in top lane. Finn gets his flash blown again in the bot lane.
This is a case of just pushing your lead too far. And this is the 3rd time this game where he has gotten his flash blown really unnecessarily. Really, the ward coverage isn't there. Just backing off, going to take enemy jungle camps, to make
Absolutely.
small little gains without putting yourself in harm's way. And
Absolutely.
with the first fight on the mid tower, where it
Yeah.
ended up being a 2 for 2.
Yeah, and let's talk about this new
Yeah,
fight
we'll
in mid
talk about this
tower.
fight real quick.
Jong Hoon knocks up Nuke Duck with the Ash ult in the bot lane, but good Zanya's, the Ornn ult really does nothing. Finn gets a double kill just in this skirmish for the bot tower. And now we know XL was already a little trigger happy on Baron. Now they have one more person on it, Mickey
Yes.
X, and they will actually get it. Astralis is not contesting this at all. They lost 3, and it just exchanged for Nuke Duck. I think they just kind of got caught.
Yeah, I think it's a case of Jong Hoon also just holding his Devourer too long, allowing Ash to get chunked out and stunned. Nuke Duck has a way to all in, and I think the turn is really good. It's just really unlucky that Finn is there when he is.
Yeah.
Really, you can get the kill and maybe turn on Finn there. And something we see as we jump into the replay too, you'll see the way these fights tend to work out. Xerxes really likes to zone the backline during a lot of these fights, really just in between the two, allowing Kabe on Ash to try to free fire and get what they can.
Yeah, and I've got it paused right here.
Mhm.
Xerxes running away. They've caught Nuke Duck on the back line, caught him with the Ash ult and the Tom Kinch knockup. But the teleport's coming in on the turret from Vizichachi while it finishes right when they take it. So he doesn't actually get it off. Or was that? Oh, or that was Dayor teleporting in.
Yes.
Yeah, Vizichachi comes in from the bot, gets the knockup on Nuke Duck to get that shut down, which is huge. But
massive.
Xerxes dead. Kabe's dead. They have nothing left, and with a Baron for XL, they just take the third Ocean Drake, or no, Astralis take the third Ocean Drake in response, which is great. And really, what they need to keep this game going. XL's pushing Finn alone in top lane. I don't know how I feel about that. And 3, it's a 1-1-3, which is really not the most advisable, but they're looking to punish Astralis's so-called bad macro. Marcoon's pushing in mid lane, and Finn, as safe as he can be, I suppose. Only 1 death technically, but a few blown flashes. I think all near deaths. Almost got caught out again right there. Xerxes was shadowing him, but
yes.
XL get the mid turret, and they are really, really pushing their advantage with this Baron. I think with a 7,000 gold lead, they are trying to finish this as soon as possible. They get a good knockup on Jong Hoon. Kalista gets the kite, but he gets away with the gray health. But you'd think that lets them get the inhibitor turret for free. But Vizichachi's here. Mickey X almost dies, has to be bailed out by the Kalista ultimate. Also not very ideal, like you said earlier. That's several times now that the Kalista ultimate has been used defensively and not with a 7,000 gold lead. You want to be using that on the Ashe, on the Orianna, and just get the inhibitor.
Yes, for sure. And we look as this Baron really is ending here. As XL is able to get about 2,900 gold, a 2,900 gold lead from the Baron, so not bad. But again, the big thing is losing the third Drake and losing mid tower from it. I think Astralis really was able to stem the bleeding with that by not panicking after losing that first mid fight and continuing to find ways to push the pressure and continue to stall.
Absolutely, and now Ashe has the upgraded Kraken Slayer. Orianna has the upgraded Leandries, and Tom Kent has the upgraded Locket. So huge power for them right now, and they know that it's only going to get better for them. They're not actually as behind as it may seem. They have the hand up on the dragons. Speaking of dragons, 50 seconds until the next one spawns, and unfortunately for Astralis, this is just XL's map right now. Not Soul Point, not the end of the world, but they just have to give this one up, I think.
Yes. And smart by Astralis. It's not worth pushing right now. They are at a point now where I think they really can take some fights. The Ornn items really do equate to about 1,000 extra gold worth of stats as you really look at it. So they really can start pushing their envelope here.
Yep. And I'm not sure why Vizichachi teleported there for that dragon fight. I think there were some split calls on if they were going to give it up, if they were just going to see if they could steal it. I know there were a few things thrown out there by Astralis, the Ash W thrown out just as a Hail Mary. I can't blame him for that. But Astralis pushing up here into the Baron area with very little vision, trying to get things done as a 5-stack.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very risky, but has to be done if you don't want Excel to just sneak another Baron while you're clearing waves bot. And speaking of bot, Nuke Duck's pushing up into that inhibitor. It really feels like that Astralis just have no chance, because as soon as they walk away to respond to Nuke Duck, that Baron gets started up, and they back off of it immediately. Let's see. Now again, XL starting up that Baron. I believe they're actually going to get it this time. Mickey X able to stop them with the Braum ult. Vizichachi goes in by himself, and the good stopwatches, good shutdowns onto Xerxes and Vizichachi. Free Baron on all 5 members this time. And at this point, second Baron, sole point, open inhibitor bot, only inhibitor turrets left in top and mid. This game feels over. You can even see Gnar has 4.6k up on Ornn. Trundle's 2.7k up. But Lissandra is only 400 gold up, and I'm going to pause it really quick. Patrick's up 1.6k. Now, what happens here, and I'm going to slow this down right at about 38.07. Slow this down to about half speed. Now, what's happening here, Kabe is desperately trying to cut this wave, use his Ranger's focus to kill those ranged minions. Jong Hoon's here blocking for anything. XL gets that turret in the top lane. 6 seconds until Xerxes is up, 15 for Vizichachi. XL thinks this is their moment. Patrick starts going in. Nuke Duck goes in with the E. Ults Jong Hoon. Braum jumps in, also uses his ult. Marcoon on the backside, but stopped by the Orianna ult. By then, they just kind of group up. Patrick kills Jong Hoon, but Mickey X just gets blown up. Dayor tries to be the hero, kill Patrick, almost manages it, but Nuke Duck gets him on the backline. The Ash W just kills Nuke Duck. That's a lot of damage. Ornn ult.
Very much so.
But Marcoon in the top lane gets that inhibitor, flashes away from the Ornn ult. And XL lost 2 for... It was a 2 for 2 for 1 inhibitor. And if you're 7,000 gold ahead, I really don't know about that. Not to mention, Finn is in the bot lane getting this inhibitor, or he's about to.
Almost.
But for the second time this game, he just doesn't. Jumps a little early.
Mm-hmm.
And that's huge.
An important thing that last fight, Kabe was able to not get stunned by the Mega Gnar ult, and was able to hold his ground to make sure that Mickey X did get blown up. And we'll see as the replay comes. I guess it's the replay of the Baron, but really looking at it, Mickey's able to, or not Mickey, Kabe is able to position really well, stay safe, and really look to make an impact in those fights.
And huge thing, right as this replay is going, Patrick has finished his Guardian Angel.
Yes.
Major. So we see this Baron fight play out. Xerxes tries to go in, but XL just stop hitting the Baron. It's at 2,600. It's not within smite range. They get the rend on Xerxes, and then there's no chance of a steal going in. Marcoon commits to the Baron. Very, very smart play, coordinated play by XL to get this Baron. And when we were watching this game live last weekend, we're like, okay, we're not going to be reviewing this game because it seems like XL just haven't handled. It's over. But we know that's not what happens. Right here in the top lane, Marcoon gets caught by Xerxes, nothing happens. But what does happen is Mickey X tried to respond. Tomkin's knockup catches him out, and they use the Kalista ult to bail him out. And I'm going to pause because that would be 3 times now that Mickey X has been bailed out by Kalista Ultimate. But
and an important thing with it too, it used his E. Now, Vizichachi doesn't punish it, but that could have been so much worse than this fight ends up going for XL.
Yes, we see he goes in, actually, instead of going back out. But the Ornn ult has been called. They completely misses it. The Ashe ult finds Mickey on the backside. Nuked Up goes in and just gets exploded by Orianna. But again, Vizicachi goes too far. And what I think what could have been a winning fight for Astralis is lost by this Ornn. XL get the mid turret. And I've slowed the video down considerably because there's not much time left. I want more time to talk about this. Mickey survives despite an awful engage. I think I don't even know how. Without the Unbreakable up, or I think he had it up already by the time that started. But after everything, Patrick just goes over by himself to Ocean Drink to secure that Ocean Soul. Huge for Excel. Absolutely huge. And we can see the replay here. Marcoon gets caught. And I say gets caught because Mickey X rotates to help him, even though he didn't need to. Tom Kench knock up, Unbreakable, or knock up. Ults in. Uses the ult on Daor as well. Jumps to Patrick. His Unbreakable is back up off cooldown already, and that's what saves him. Vizicachi misses the knockup on Patrick, and the rest of his team is gone. They leave him to die. Probably the right call.
For sure.
And they managed to get that bot lane inhibitor as well. So Baron has run out, but they have Ocean Soul. All XL really needs to do right now, push as a unit, get that mid inhibitor. Having two supers for every single wave will help them considerably.
For sure.
But we know that's not exactly what happens here. So, and one of the Nexus turrets is down. That happened during the replay. We didn't even get to see it.
No, we didn't.
So they're posturing. I'm going to pause right here. Marcoon is top lane. Finn is bot lane. Why? They're not
no reason to be.
They're not syncing up the waves because mid inhibitor is up. Astralis can easily rotate to either of these lanes to catch those waves. There's no reason to be here. I want Marcoon in mid lane. I want Finn in mid lane, or even just one of them. That would make this fight go very, very differently, especially Finn on Gnar. I'm going to unpause and we can see what happens here. So Marcoon starts on the collapse. Finn goes up back with mid lane. Finn is in a weird spot right now. He's right in between the two inhibitors, mid lane and bot lane. I don't know why. He has no Baron buff. There's no real reason to be there. The wave way back in the very, very tail end of the map right now.
Yes.
So Patrick starts hitting the inhibitor, and then Astralis says, we need to go. Vizicachi goes in on Mickey. Xerxes just pushes away Marcoon. I don't even think he had to leave, but they try to commit to this inhibitor. And then Xerxes gets a huge knockup, huge Ashe ult, Ornn ult on Finn to stop him from doing a backdoor, getting the Nexus tower shut down on Patrick and killed Mickey X. Finn, if he was there just a little bit higher and not trying to go for a weird backdoor there, they could at least get the inhibitor. But instead, Finn just stays way too long, and now Finn and Nuktuk are in the bot lane when this game could have been over.
100%. And yet another time where Finn's pushing too far.
Absolutely. Nuktuk gets away with the E, and now we see Xerxes, Kabi, and Jong-hoon collapsing on Finn. They know he's here. They have the Ashe Hawk shot. They spot him going between the bushes. And what happens here? The exhaust goes down on Finn. Devour on Finn. Nuktuk is standing there, right there to see if he can save him. Pops the GA, decides. Comes a little closer. Gnar ult away, but shut down onto Kabe. And the objective bounty right after that. Kabe is huge right now.
Massive. And you can look at items, you see Gnar immediately sells his GA, unless it just came back up.
No, he absolutely sold his GA. Unfortunately, Ashe is full build right now.
Yes.
So what happens here? The core of Astralis moves up to Baron to clear out that vision. XL follows, but with no Finn. And Nuktuk's in the bot lane with teleport. But Astralis start this Baron up slowly. Very, very slowly. But They get it. They snag that objective bounty before Marcoon can jump in and steal it. XL just not confident without Finn, and right there, I don't know if he couldn't see it. The Tom Kench knock up catches Patrick with his flash up. I don't know how that happened.
It's very hard when you're playing from a bush like that.
Mm-hmm.
The indicator does come up pretty last second. It is kind of hard to see, but you would think with flash up, with everything up, you should be able to avoid it. But at the same time, really great catch out by Young Hoon.
I think it's possible that he was looking at the Baron pit. He was looking at bot lane when
For sure.
was pushing. He was trying to see what they were going to do. Maybe there was a split call. Tom Kench knock up. Ashe ult misses, but Wukong knock up, Ornn knock up the Devour on Patrick, and they kill him and Mickey. So now what's going to happen? They have Baron, Patrick and Mickey are down for 60 seconds. Kabe immediately runs to where the mid lane is being held up, and Xerxes gets the Chempunk chainsword on his back, and they just start running down mid lane. Nukeduck a little slow. I think if Nukeduck teleported there to the Baron, they may have been able to fight that with the low numbers, but they were willing to give it up, not expecting Patrick to die. And these are huge death timers. And as we'll see right here, that inhibitor is about to come up bot lane too. Vizicachi's there clearing out that last wave that's going to come through. No more supers. They get the tier 2 mid, an objective bounty again. Now the gold lead has shrunk to only 2k, where it was at 7k earlier. They get the inhibitor.
Exactly.
The teleport comes out from Vizicachi. They're saying we can end. Patrick's still down for another 15 seconds. They push into the Nexus turrets, and here we have one last try. Finn jumps in, pushes them all back into the Trundle Pillar, which is amazing, right? But Wukong hits the stopwatch, and then Braum ult hits basically no one. Vizicachi gets a really good knockup with Xerxes on the back line. Patrick dead again before he can really get anything done. No deaths on the side of Astralis, and a full ace, and what really should have been Astralis' game 15 minutes ago.
Yep. And really that last fight, something that really goes unnoticed is when that 3-man Gnarl comes in, Young Hoon is able to devour the Ashe, pull him back, and Ashe gets to free fire. He's focused on Nukeduck at the start, but he's still able to zone out. He's still your main damage dealer. Patrick can't get to him. Nukeduck's in zone, so he can't get to him. It doesn't matter at that point. Yeah, the game is over.
We're going to watch this back very slowly. I'm watching Jong Hoon and Kabe. I see Finn just hits Rage. Trundle Pillar jumps in. They go. Jong Hoon rooted, but as soon as he can, almost across the pillar.
Just like that.
It just devours Ashe immediately. And he could have very, very much accidentally devoured Vizicachi or devoured Xerxes.
Really hard,
Very, very hard. Nukeduck pops the stopwatch for some reason by the inhibitor, and huge knockup on the backside for Patrick, and it's just over. Patrick really just not capable of carrying this fight with his items, and he just got to full build. And let's look at his items right now. Shield Bow, Wit's End, Mercurial Scimitar, Rage Blade, Runon's Hurricane. Where's your damage? You have a lot of on-hit damage, and I'll give you that. But is on-hit damage what you want against Orianna, Ashe, when you really are just competing to see who can kill the other team's carry first?
Exactly. You're not cutting through the front line. You're not killing the carries right away. So what is that build doing?
Absolutely.
In reality, what is it doing?
Absolutely nothing. And Daor took the Gathering Storm at the beginning of the game. He ended up with plus 80 AP at the end of this at 45 minutes. Huge value pick. And if we're going to talk about Patrick, I think Patrick's a great player. I don't think many people can deny that. But it seems that he has some sort of problem on red side. Now, I've got this pulled up right here. Here we have a graph of all of Patrick's kills on blue side. You see a lot. in this
A lot of them.
upper bot blue side quadrant here. A few, very, very few in the top lane, very, very few around Baron, but they really like to play around that Dragon Pit. And this is just on blue side. This is not their jungle. XL on blue side gets those dragons, pushes up in division, catches people out coming towards their way to get those dragons. Now, I know you know the answer to this. How do you think that graph looks like on red side?
I would say it looks slightly different.
I would say so too. Patrick's kills on red side, and this is after this game, after the second game they played this weekend as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He had 3 kills this game. XL is 0 and 3 on red side, and I wonder if this is what Patrick's kill graph looks like on red side. I think there may be some issues with something in their draft. Is if they can't play on red side, are they just not willing to last pick an AD carry? Are they getting counterpicked? What do you think could be happening here?
Looking it up right now, their games from this season to really take a look at it. And I think we talked about it a little bit at the start. I mean, draft was, you're putting yourself into a hold with it, with the Callista pick. And I think we're going to continue to see, as Callista remains meta, I think Ashe is going to be such a counter to her because she counters her in lane with her passive slowing her, with slows all throughout her kit, and able to contain essentially her lane pressure. I think we see different things like that and really look to continue to counter her. Now, looking on XL, they played, of course, the 3 games on red. Their first game was against G2. Mm-hmm. They got slaughtered. Yes. 25 kills to 4. It was been playing, let's see, it was Gwen, Wukong, TF, Ezreal, and Nami.
Mm-hmm. I see Ezreal, and Ezreal does not really resonate for me as a Patrick pick. 1, 3, and 2, 398 CS. Really pales to Flackett's 431 CS, 5011. I think, it's a different game we could talk about, but
yes,
again,
for sure.
Red side just seems to be a problem, and they played out of the first round robin is done. They played 6 games of blue side, 3 games of red side, lost all 3 games on red side, and I think they lost 1 on blue side. They're going to start playing a lot more red side games as the second round robin starts up. Do you think this stops them from qualifying for Worlds?
I definitely think so. With the parity right now in the LEC, it's really hard to say who the front runners are. And going into this week, XL really looked like a contender. But you even look at their second draft from this week. They played Draven Janna into Callista Renata, another early game focused draft, and aren't able to pull it off. And that's a real concern to me. If you are not able to play these early game drafts, get your leads, and push it to wins, how are you going to beat the best teams? Misfits looks really good right now. Rogue is still solid. We've seen what G2 can do. And we're not even talking about Fnatic or Mad yet.
Right.
You have to push into those 5 right there. You have to be straight up just on your mechanics. You need to be straight up on your macro. And we've seen Finn getting called out 3 times, blowing flash 3 times, pushing too hard into Orianna. There were 4 Orianna ults that had at least 2 people called on it.
Absolutely.
Your positioning needs to be better and playing for objectives. I mean, we've seen this game. And again, big hand to Astralis. I mean, down 8k gold coming back, even if you have a scaling comp, is a big deal. I think we've seen they're willing to punish mistakes from Mickey X. They're willing to punish mispositions by Nuke Duck and play around what their comp needed. Vizicachi didn't have the greatest game of all time on Ornn, but they were still able to play around it. I will never really say Xerxes is a real true carry, but he had a lot of really good engages, really good chances to bring the Oriana ball to the backline and really punish Patrick.
He did his
Patrick,
job.
Patrick, I don't think had really a bad game. He played fine.
No.
But with the way the comps were, he can't play it, especially from an even to a close gold state. He can't play the game.
Yeah, I think Astralis did a really good job of punishing him in draft, and XL almost made it work despite that. But just a few missed positions and hesitations on macro really lost them the game. And I think that's about all there is to say.
Yeah, for real. And the big thing now will be, can Astralis take that next step to shore up their early games, to take that next step to be in that consideration? Because looking at the LEC standings, we're close all around. I mean, especially after this week, when you have this many upsets, there is a lot of parity right now in the LEC. Many good teams. And I think that's why I think we'll have so many options to pick from each week, because anyone can win.
Yep.
There is not a huge discrepancy between first and eighth.
Yep, 4-way tie for third at 5 wins, and only 6 wins at 2 and 7 wins at 1. And just below that, 2 teams tied at 7th. 4 and 5, 7th place is insane to be that close to 50% and still be outside of playoffs, or rather, SK and BDS are absolutely outside of playoffs. But SK did get the upset win on Excel the next day.
Exactly.
But I think that's going to do it for us. Tune in next week where we'll be talking about a different game next weekend. If you're watching the LEC this upcoming weekend and you see games you want us to cover, tweet at us. You can reach me at @MELLORILOL, at MELERILOL.
And I am at RBlanton77, RBLANTON77. Or you can leave a comment at the bottom of this YouTube channel or YouTube video or anything like that. But thank you very much.
Absolutely. And we will catch you guys next time.
See ya.